Good morning, everybody, and welcome back at the Global Cloud Skills Tour, the virtual series. It's already the fourth event in a series of 6, and I'm more than happy to welcome you back. And maybe you have seen the first 3 events, or maybe it's new for you here, but we have a great international lineup today for you, with Kevin George talking about the value of certification and badging and developing your workforce, and Michael Swoboda talking about how LLPA can support you in developing your workforce. But let me start with a brief introduction on LLPA, Leading Learning Partners Association. We are an organization of 33 members from all over the world, from Latin America, Mexico, Argentina to Australia, and from Iceland to South Africa. Actually the place where Kevin will be presenting from today, from Johannesburg. We were founded in 2013 while we realized that we could have more impact on you and developing the skills in your companies if we would join forces and if we would cooperate together. And at the moment, after 7 years of existence, like I said, we've grown to 33 members and we're covering more than 52 countries. So what is LLPA doing? We provide training and certification services, and training in all kinds of languages, not only in English, because we have this presence in all those countries, but also in other languages, the big languages in the world. And we provide local sessions in all those countries. And the good thing is that we can provide you with a single point of contact where we can execute global projects, global initiatives with our local members. And not only training, and training in all kinds of modalities. Of course, at the moment, most of our training modalities, most of the training we do is virtual. But we also have an online platform, Skills Academy, that we use for skilling your people. And at the moment, more than 185 companies have their own skilling or their own Skills Academy platform where they train their people. But also certification. We can help you not only skilling your people, but also certifying your people. And that's where Kevin will talk about. But we have a journey for you, for your people, from training to preparation for the exam to taking the exam. And we report back the results of the certification journey of people. We do that with the Cloud Certification Circle, and that's a concept, a framework that Michael will talk about in the second part of this webinar. But why are we here? Well, actually, the fact is that, and can you proceed to the next slide? The fact is that at the moment, more than 83% of the companies, they realize that in these times of digital transformation, new technologies will bring them more revenue. But on the other hand, and please advance another time. On the other hand, only 60% of those organizations realize, or they have a clear cloud strategy in mind. So although you know that you realize that you can have more business and you can outperform your competition, a strategy is most of the times not available. And it's even worse, because in these companies, only 3.5% of the people have the right skills. And to benefit from the new technologies, you need to have the right skills, the future skills in your organization. And that's why we're here, because we realized a year ago at LLPA, next slide please, we realized that we need to have this conversation with you, and we need to bring business leaders together in one room and discuss the importance of skilling and how do you need to skill, and well, foster a lifelong learning journey and solve the skills gap together with you. But we decided not only do that at one location, but to do that at 9 locations in 4 continents. So that's what we did in January. We started in Belgrade, we went to Milan, Johannesburg, and the 4th one was, what is it? Helsinki, of course. Yeah, I was there. How could I forget? So after 4 events, COVID-19 came. And we had to change our plan. And we could not travel to Singapore or Mexico or the other locations. So what we've done, we decided to run this event virtually. So instead of going to the 5 locations, we decided to have this series of 6 events where we would have the same lineup and the same topics to discuss cloud skilling with you. And if you want to advance to one more, please. And these 6 events, they started 3 weeks ago. On the 2nd of June, we started with a session on the opportunities in the cloud, where Jeffrey Vermeulen and Stephanie Straub discussed the opportunities, and I was there too. And we had a nice conversation on and examples on how organizations benefited from the cloud. And 1 week later, on the 9th of June, we had a conversation with Jussi Roine, who was talking about how you can benefit from the cloud even more if you bring your business to the cloud. And last week, we had a session where Lurleen Duggan, Chief Learning Officer from Microsoft Western Europe, discussed the global cloud skills journey. What is Microsoft doing in skilling their people, and what programs do they have? And that brings us also to today, where Kevin George will be talking about the value of certification and how you can skill your workforce to be able to be ready for the future. And with Michael talking about the Cloud Certification Circle, the framework that LLPA uses to support you with the initiatives from Microsoft. And next week, so if you're still want to attend all these sessions, all these great sessions, next week we have a very interesting topic also with Herman Keizer and Jan Depping talking about the 8 principles of cloud adoption. And that's really a very interesting topic. And we're closing with another interesting topic on the 30th of June, when Ron Augustus will be talking about some best practices that were done with customers, and best practices not only external customers, but also how skilling at Microsoft in the Netherlands was done and what results that gave. So a very nice lineup. Some of you might have seen the sessions before, and I'm pretty sure that all of you will be attending the sessions in the next weeks. But today we're going to start with Kevin and Michael. And the first presentation is by Kevin. Kevin is a cloud specialist. He's based in Johannesburg, and he will be talking about the validation of knowledge and how you're skilling your workforce and validate them. So I want to give the floor to Kevin. Oh, by the way, I forgot one thing. If you have any questions, there's a Q&A box in your screen. Ask the questions, write down the questions. We will be covering the questions at the end of this hour. So we will be asking the questions to Michael and Kevin. But for now, the floor is for Kevin. Take it away, Kevin.
As Patrick would have mentioned, I'm here to talk about making an impact by developing your workforce, the value of a certification. My name is Kevin. I'm a Microsoft Cloud Specialist here based in Johannesburg in South Africa. And without further ado, let's get on to it. So as we've probably noticed in 2020, the world is rapidly changing. I think 2020 showed us that there's nothing really that you can plan for. But the one thing that we noticed with a lot of customers in 2020, especially in my role as a cloud specialist, is the value of technology within an organization. This really helps organizations adapt and rapidly switch and change up how they're going to address challenges and the way that technology can actually enable that. But I think the important part behind being able to rapidly change and adapt to what is happening around you is the skill set behind the technology, right? Skills are what drives the technology and allows organizations to be competitive and allows them to actually embrace and make these rapid changes. Without developing the skill sets behind these technologies, we won't be able to actually drive the changes that we want to see for a lot of organizations. And that's really what I wanted to focus on today, is to show with the rapidly changing world that we're in, we need to focus on developing the skill sets for both the people within the organization, as well as the partner channel and the partner base that we work with. So why should an organization actually look at transformation? Well, I think this year specifically has shown that organizations need to be able to transform so that they can stay relevant. We've seen lots of stories around organizations, especially in the US, where, for example, the motor manufacturing organizations actually went and changed from producing vehicles to producing ventilators. Here in South Africa specifically, our alcohol industry went from producing beer to producing hand sanitizer and alcohol for hospitals to help obviously with coronavirus. So this is really one of the examples that we can show that there's being able to quickly transform and change what you're able to do, make sure that as an organization you stay competitive, you stay relevant, and you're able to adapt to the changes that we see within the world and obviously within the workplace. But it's not just these big global pandemics that really shape the way that we should look at transformation. It's also around how we're able to adapt going forward. We saw obviously a lot of people being able to, or being forced to work from home. And this obviously puts a lot of strain on organizations. I specifically had customers that had to go from 0 work from home policy to 100% work from home in a matter of 2 days. So this really shows that organizations need those skills to adapt very quickly. And what we're also seeing with this change and with people now obviously adapting and embracing work from home, this requires organizations to maintain that going forwards. So we've got a lot of customers that are now looking at us saying, okay, well, how do we maintain this work from stance going forward once we're out of the pandemic? How do we look at technologies to help make our workforce more productive when they're working from home? How do we help enhance collaboration? These are really the questions that we're being asked, and we're looking at the technologies to help deliver on that. But as I mentioned before, it's the people behind the technology that enable those technologies. And without the right skill set and mindset to adopt those technologies, they'll just fall flat. It's a very interesting scenario where I phoned a customer a little while back, and they asked me if I was back at work because I was dialing from an office number. And I realized for the last 5 or 6 years, I've never actually had a landline. I've always used a soft phone, used voice over IP. So these are really the things where transformation helps us maintain the ability to work and be productive. Some of my customers report that they had 0 downtime because they've embraced technology and were able to actually maintain that status going forward. So it's really around making sure that we can keep companies productive, make sure that they can adapt and change to the world around them. And obviously that brings me to the 4th industrial revolution. It wouldn't be a talk around skills if we didn't actually talk about the 4th industrial revolution. And this for us is really a pivotal point, and 2020 has actually driven that home for a lot of organizations to say that this 4th industrial revolution is real, it is happening, and they need to obviously pay attention to it. And as you may or may not know, one of the reasons why we call it the 4th industrial revolution is we see this as one of the large, big shifts that we can see for organizations brought about after things like steam, electricity, and so on. And really what it focuses on is digital, right? Digital disruptive technologies, being able to embrace things like IoT, robotics, virtual reality to actually change the way we live and work, change the way that we engage and interact with one another. You can imagine that 5 years ago, global pandemic, everyone having to work from home, things like Teams and Zoom weren't necessarily as prevalent as they are right now. And here we have people, Teams is the largest growing platform we've seen. And we've also seen changes having to happen by the large players. So we had the streaming services, Netflix, for example, reducing their bit rate because of the amount of people working from home. And that's really what we're going to see going forward, is this huge disruption in how we actually work and interact and engage with each other. So as you can see, the first major milestone for us, or industrial revolution, was around the introduction of steam and being able to harness the water and steam to help with steamboats and manufacturing. And this is where we saw the first big shift for organizations from being, self-sufficient to starting to look at what mass production could actually look like. Not quite at the point of mass production, but definitely on the way to get there. The next major industrial revolution that we saw was obviously the advent of electricity. So this allowed us to then start really embracing mass production. The telephone obviously rapidly changed the way that organizations interacted. Before you'd have to send telegrams, and those are slow, not a lot of context behind them. And then we introduced the telephone. Businesses were able to engage with each other across the globe and really started igniting that economy and global economy. And then obviously we had the electronic industrial revolution. So this is where we brought, the idea of a PC in every home. This is where we obviously started kitting out organizations with their own computers. And a funny thing a friend of mine said to me the other day was, which organizations have mail rooms? You'd have a mail room, people would send mail, you'd have a guy that would deliver the mail to you at your desk. And that's no longer a requirement because obviously we have personal computers and we just send emails to everyone. So this was obviously a massive change for organizations. But I think the important part behind all of this is the skill set that goes with them. When you start looking at the introduction of STEAM technologies, you start seeing that, that requires a different skill set to maintain and look after those technologies and steam engines, Then we start looking at electricity, and now we start looking at electrical engineering as one of the requirements to help organizations maintain their electrical grid or maintain their power supply. When we start looking at electronics, we look at, computer science degrees as things that organizations are looking for to make sure that people could support the workers and support the new future of work. And we see that same requirement now in the fourth industrial revolution, which is the digital era, right? And this is really where we start looking at how we can use technology to change the way we work. And I think the important part is, for a long time period, people would start thinking of the fourth industrial revolution and the introduction of AI and robotics as a way to replace the human workforce. And I think over the last couple of years, we've seen that just really isn't the case. It's really around how we can use these technologies to augment the way that we currently work. How do we use it to help people be more productive, give better insights for companies into their strategy and the way they want to go forward? But the most important part for us behind this is the skills gap between where we need to be and where we currently are. And as the technology keeps changing and evolving, we do stand a risk of actually increasing that skills gap and making it more difficult for people and organizations to keep up. So now more than ever, it's more important for organizations to invest in their skill force and make sure that they're obviously keeping up to date with the latest technologies and trends. So this leads on to why we must be ready to transform. And the interesting part for me behind this is my 9-year-old niece. We had a video conference the other day for dinner because we're still in a hard lockdown. And one of the interesting things for me was they were completely able to operate video conferencing, right? My 9-year-old niece understood Teams better than some of the colleagues I work for, and I work for Microsoft. And this is the reality for a lot of organizations. The youth skills that they're bringing into the organizations are generally more capable and able to adapt to changes in technologies than some of the existing workforce. And this for us poses a risk because organizations want to transform and adapt really quickly, be agile and be able to deliver on what they're looking for. But the reality is the workplace needs to also be brought up to speed with those same technologies. There's an interesting stat that shows that in 1964, the average age of an organization on the S&P 500 was 33 years, right? In 2016, that average age of the organization was 24 years. And they predict in the next 10 to 15 years, the average age of an organization in the S&P 500 is going to be 16 years, sorry. What that shows us is that the organizations that are able to change and adapt to their surroundings, enter into new markets, embrace new technologies, develop new products, they're the organizations that are more valued by the market, right? They're the ones that are able to stay and maintain on that market. We're predicting that at least half of the S&P 500 would actually be reabsorbed or be replaced by other organizations. And this is a massive concern for some large organizations to say, how do they stay relevant for their customers, for their organizations? How are they actually going to make sure that their stakeholders get value out of the organization in the long run? So for us, it's really around making sure that organizations are able to stay productive, stay competitive, and really embrace technology to enable them to do that. And we've seen a lot of organizations, even during this global pandemic, were able to bounce back quite quickly in terms of obviously market share and share price, because they're able to adapt really quickly and embrace the technologies to be able to do that. Obviously, this is my fearless leader, Satya, and I think this is a really important quote from him. One of the things that we focus on quite seriously within Microsoft is developing talent, right? And for us, that's a really, really important thing. With being the company that is responsible for bringing a lot of our customers along this cloud journey and making sure that they embrace cloud, it's really important for us as an organization to make sure that we obviously lead by example. And it can be hard, and I think that's the important thing for organizations to understand is changing your skill set or your talent pool within an organization can be quite difficult, depending on the culture that you have, depending on the industry that you're in. But for us, it was really it's an important milestone to say, or important strategy to make sure that we embrace the talents and the ethos that we want to drive with our customers. We have a metric internally that requires us to maintain a certain certification so that we can obviously deliver the requisite business value to our customers and technical engagement with the customers that we deal with. So it is very important that a company's goal aligns to the strategy that they're trying to develop internally for their talent. If you're an organization that wants to build new products, new services, enter into new markets, and you're going to use digital tools to get there, it doesn't help that you're also not investing in your staff or your IT team to enable those skill sets. It would be akin to going to war without training your army, right? It's really important that organizations align their skill development strategy to their organizational strategy, irrelevant of what that strategy is. It could be around just being able to develop the products or adjust your internal strategy quicker. Your skill set would need to align to that. So it's really important for us that digital transformation does require new skills. As I mentioned, we do find that obviously a lot of organizations are looking at digital technologies to say, okay, well, how can we enter into a new market? How can we develop a product that caters to this specific gap in the market? And the reality is those gaps or those opportunities don't exist for long periods of time. Organizations are rapidly coming out with new products, new technologies. So it's now more important than ever for organizations to actually be able to build and innovate and go to market a lot quicker. And the reality is, if you don't invest in your skill sets internally, you're going to be dependent on external skill sets, and they may not always be available. They may also be pricey. So it's really important for organizations to make sure that they invest in their skill set internally so that they're able to adapt to changes externally. And then this also leads to being more competitive. As I mentioned, some of the examples from this year alone, organizations that quickly shifted from vehicle manufacturing to manufacturing ventilators. For us, it was around, a lot of companies embracing e-commerce. So grocery stores now offering deliver to your home, mobile experiences, online experiences. So this for us shows the importance of an organization that is able to adapt to rapidly changing environment and then being able to be more competitive on that. And then obviously for a lot of organizations, it's around how do they grow? How do they diversify their portfolio? How do they enter into new markets? How do they make sure that they're able to stay ahead of the curve and be the forerunners for changing technologies? And all of this is dependent on skill sets. You can't rapidly develop an e-commerce platform if you don't have those skills internally. You can't introduce agile ways of development if you don't have the internal skill sets to be able to do that. So really, digital transformation is tied hand in hand with organizations being able to develop their skill sets, embrace the change in how they recruit talent and how they develop that talent, and taking that to market. And this is obviously why it's very important to skill up. I do encounter a lot of customers that say one of the challenges that they have is whenever they invest in skills, whenever they invest in their staff, it really just makes those staff ripe for being recruited into other companies. That is a reality. It is something that organizations obviously have to manage and weigh up the risks. But personally, and with a lot of my colleagues, an organization that invests in your skills is an organization that wants to keep you and help you and watch you grow. And if you have the right culture within the organization of developing team members and skills within those organizations or within those people in the organization, that can only lead to good things, right? And I think especially with the new way of work, people are looking for those organizations that are going to invest in them. And this is really how you attract good talent and obviously develop that talent that you're able to attract. And then obviously rewarding employees that invest in their skilling. I think one of the important things that we've learned with digital transformation and organizations that are embracing this culture of distance and remote working and all of that is really around enabling the unique skills that each employee has. So there may be individuals that are really good at, remote speaking that can help teach and champion the culture within the organization. It could be a case of you have employees that have skill sets around collaboration that could be rewarded internally for embracing that and driving that through the organization. I think the important thing for this, and it's lessons that I've learned within Microsoft, is there are people in organizations that, have a specific role, but they have other skill sets within that too that you can help drive and develop. Specifically, for example, we had an opportunity with a customer to move them their SAP environment into Azure, and we needed some SAP skills. And we actually had a person in our team that was a SAP basis consultant. And he actually ended up taking us all through a SAP basis course and educating us and training. And for the organization, that's now obviously reaped massive rewards. SAP on Azure is a major play for us. So, it's really around making sure that we leverage the skills that the people in your organization have and reward them for obviously driving their own development and the development of the other organizations, other people in your organization. And then there's obviously, prioritizing certification for employees. As I mentioned, within Microsoft, we have a metric for certifications that we have to maintain so that we can obviously engage with customers a lot better and make sure that customers get value out of our engagement. And this is obviously important for a lot of organizations that are recruiting skills. It's important that, the people that you're recruiting have skills that align to your company strategy, but also around making sure that you maintain those skills internally. What we found is also with organizations that partner with some of our customers. So obviously from a Microsoft point of view, we have a huge partner base that deals with our customers. And now more than ever, some of our customers are looking at our partners and saying, well, do you have the right certifications and skill sets that match what we want to do as an organization? And this is really where being able to show certification comes into play. It's all good and well saying that you're able to do something, but having that certification obviously shows that a third party is vetted and proven that you're able to actually deliver on what you say you can do. Here we can see that obviously some of the studies that we've done, 2018 Global Knowledge IT Skills Report, shows that 95% of IT decision makers believe certification provides added value to the organization. And we're seeing that as a trend more and more. Previously, when we've done the study, we would see that certification was in the low 70s, 60% as a priority for IT decision makers. And as digital transformation starts to impact on businesses and they start looking at cloud technologies and how they're able to actually transform their business, they've started to realize that having certifications is what drives the business and drives the skills to be able to deliver on what they propose. What we've also found is obviously employees are more productive in their role. It's obviously easier to do your role when you understand the technology behind it and what you're trying to achieve. But also what this means is that if you have what we would normally term a cloud center of excellence within some customers, and you have a diversified skill set within that organization or within that core team. So you could have someone that is an infrastructure specialist for cloud computing, and you could have someone that's a data specialist. With the certification being shared, between multiple members within that team, they're able to work better, they're able to collaborate better because they all have the same base level of understanding. That means projects are delivered faster, delivered on time, and delivered to a better quality. And what this also means is that these teams can now add better value to the organization. So it means that, organizations are now starting to look at things, for example, how they can do things differently, how they can engage with customers differently, how they can use bots to simplify online engagement with users. It's really around, once we've got the skills and we've got the understanding of what the technology can do, we're able to then, as IT within the organization, go back to the business and say, this is how you can do things differently, and this is how you can generate additional revenue by using these technologies. And then obviously from a recruitment point of view, it is obviously substantially easier to identify the right skills within your organization or that you need in your organization if you're looking for people with a specific certification. It makes the recruiting a lot simpler. It obviously makes identifying those candidates a lot easier. And this is really important overall for organizations, is to make sure that as they go down this digital transformation journey and as they start embracing these technologies, that they maintain this talent pool and maintain skilling up their existing workforce and driving it. One of the things that I'm particularly proud of is a colleague that I know. He went from being a desktop technician, repair technician, to having 9 advanced cloud certifications in a year and a half, just because of the investment the organization made in him and the skills that he was able to build and develop during that time. And that person, he's now dedicated to the organization. He started up a specific team within that organization to drive digital transformation and so on. So it really does make a huge impact to employees when you invest in their skills. When you identify a person has a specific capability within the organization, and you drive that investment within them around their talent and their skills. Obviously, when we talk learning, there are different methods that you can go about learning. There is self-paced learning, which boomed during 2020 and the global pandemic. Everyone with lots of free time on their hands at home decided to learn a new skill. And obviously from a Microsoft point of view, we have masses of online content and learning through our learning partners. They've obviously customized a lot of the content to make it relevant for certain industries, organizations, or roles. So really, really great resource. And then obviously we have events such as this. A lot of our events are now online, but with a lot of our partners, they're able to actually assist with workshops and specific events to cater to industries and skill sets that's required. My personal favorite, however, is obviously instructor-led training. Instructor-led training for me is really important. It shows what allows individuals and students to engage with someone that is a subject matter expert, not just on the course, but potentially also in that field, in that industry. They generally come with years of knowledge, especially around change management, being able to change your skill set. A lot of these instructors come from backgrounds where they've had to adjust and obviously changing roles and developing their skills. So it really is a great way to make sure that your team ramps up really quickly and gets the relevant experience in the industry that you're in. And then obviously certifications, really important for organizations. In South Africa specifically, we have a tax break for organizations that invest in skills and drive that. So for us, it's both a very good business model, as well as making sure that you're developing the skills force and the training required to support your organization. And with that, I'd like to say thank you for spending 20 minutes with me, listening to my little story around developing your skill force and developing the workforce within your organization. For us, it's a really important journey. Digital transformation is something that a lot of organizations are embracing, and you can't embrace the technology without embracing the skill set behind it and developing that skill set. And with that, I'd like to hand it back to Patrick.
Thank you very
much, Kevin. Great story on the importance
of skilling your workforce and the certifications behind that. Thank you very much. And I think everybody now in the audience thinks that it's very important to skill the workforce, and you can't wait to get started. Well, that's good news, because our next speaker, my good friend Michael Swoboda from the LLPA board, and he is in Austria, in Vienna. He will now talk about how LLPA can help you skilling your workforce with the Cloud Certification Circle, the framework that we developed with components like Skills Academy, the online platform, but also the turnkey solutions of online learning plus virtual learning to have people prepared optimally for exams. And also the reporting that we provide you in, so you can see the results of those skilling programs. So Michael, please enlighten our viewers. What can we do to help them skill their workforce?
So good morning, everybody. I'm really happy to be part of the Global Cloud Skills Tour. And as Patrick already mentioned, I would love to stand now on stage in front of you and have later on conversations during the lunchtime in person, but due to the fact that Corona came and arrived and stayed until now, we are here on a digital event. And so I'm happy that I'm sitting here in Vienna at ETC, Enterprise Training Center, my company. And let me start with a short introduction to me and myself. My name is Michael Swoboda. I'm a founding partner and board director of the leading Learning Partner Association. And today I will talk about the way how you can get in touch with new skills on a very specific way. So I will start my presentation first. Give me a second for that. So, well, I guess you can see my presentation right now. And let me start with saying thank you to Kevin. That was quite an interesting speech you had, and it was really valuable for all of us. And it's the perfect scenario, the perfect start to continue based on that, what you said. Kevin talked about the fourth industrial revolution, and also the industrial revolution 1, 2, and 3 had one specific thing. All of them required new skills for the people who were part of that industrial revolution. And today, the same is valid for the industrial revolution number 4. But what we all can see is the progress becomes faster and faster. So technology evolves, and we see every day some progress in that. And as Kevin mentioned, digital transformation requires new skills. And that's part of my presentation today, because I want to talk about how we can help your organization to achieve more with a modern skilling solution and role-based certification services based on the certifications of Microsoft. So when we start, as Patrick already said, we see that just 60% of the organizations have a digital transformation strategy in place today. But what is really shocking is that we only see 3.5% of the employees currently meeting the tech skills needed in this digital transformation phase. I'm very excited that we have a solution for that, and that I can share some more details on how LLPA and its partners, and Patrick already introduced you to the structure and the success factors of LLPA, how we can help your organization to achieve more and take care that your people have the right skills and the right certifications. For that, we created a product, and this product has the name the LLPA Cloud Certification Circle. The Cloud Certification Circle helps solving the skills gap, and we work on growing this 3.5%. And on this learning journey, where we show you some of the role-based training tracks and certifications, we created a plan together with you to enable you and your people to be ready for this new time. With the Cloud Certification Circle, CCC, we can measure the progress of your students from the registration to a training until the successful completion of the MCP certification. And all of that is a one-stop shop experience for you, because all these services can and will be delivered by our LLPA partners in your country, maybe also in your language, or based on a central delivery by LLPA in English. So, but what exactly is CCC? What is the Cloud Certification Circle? The first part is that we support the full training and certification process, from training to exam preparation until also taking the MCP certification. And that's a unique value of the Cloud Certification Circle, because we also take care of the central exam registration for students. Point 1 is the expert-led training deliveries. Our trainers around the globe are dedicated experts to deliver skills, dedicated experts to prepare you and your people for exams. Nowadays, we do that not only in class, like we did it in the last years. We have now this kind of blended solutions, a combination of online training, of video-based training, but also virtual ILT workshops. And we have platforms like the skillsacademy.com, where your people register and start to learn. What I already mentioned is the second part of our cloud certification circle is the certification part. We prepare your people to be successful when they take their exam. We support them with practice tests and enable them to access FAQ sites. We have sessions and exam prep workshops. And there they can ask a lot of questions. They can get better feeling for taking the exam. And for sure, they can take our service to register. This certification service makes really sense because if you allow us and we can offer you that we also take care of the centralized certification exam registration, then the circle is closed and we can report back to you. When did your people start? How did they progress in the training? And finally also support you in, did they take the exam? And what is the result for you? This kind of reporting is one of the success factors of CCC because a lot of customers already told us that this is one of the major benefits to be always informed about the progress, how the team is doing in their learning journey. So the train to certification ratio is much higher than in other learning projects. And so you have the justification of the investment and you save time. You save time in administering yourself the progress of your team. So let me show you a little bit how it looks like, the offering in the cloud certification sector. To easily apply this cloud certification circle, we have created offers that consist of online learning and on-site training. We focus a lot on a combination of that. Online training with our branded Azure Academy portal, like you can see it here on the left-hand side, with the logo of IMCP. Right here could be also your company logo. So you have this individual. There they get the right content at the right moment and at their most convenient place. In combination, programs to prepare your people for their certification. So the first step is register for the cloud certification circle and get the login data for your people to enter the Skills Academy. Then they start to learn because they have the possibility to train right in there, video-based in a combination with Microsoft Learn content and then a lot of additional stuff created by LLPA. The next step is take advantage of a virtual LT workshop. It can be a one-day workshop, it can be a two-day workshop. That depends on the exam and get students ready to take their exam. We always have in that solution a focus on one exam. So prepare on the Skills Academy page, take advantage of the workshop, and then prepare also with measure up practice tests, for example. This solution is available for all role-based courses and all role-based certifications of Microsoft. What you will find, or your people will find in the Skills Academy, is a really rich learning experience. As I already mentioned, you have the branding, your customer look and feel. People entering the page will see their company logo and will feel more comfortable because it's something really individual. On the Skills Academy page, you have official content for role-based courses, and we also added the official Microsoft Learning content. Microsoft Learn content is always part of the skills journey in the Skills Academy. And we support you. So you're not alone taking videos or reading articles on the Skills Academy, there is additional skills support, and we help you with the certification services. Always there is a connection between the virtual experience, the online experience, and for sure also the instructor-led training in class, in the future maybe again, and now in a virtual classroom experience. One of the benefits I already mentioned, management reports based on the company, based on the geo, the region, the sub, or also per course. I will show you later an example of that. And we show progress reports. So not only who did start, we also show you how is your team doing with learning in the cloud certification circle. But there is more to come. So there are things like single sign-on solutions for you. In the fiscal year 21, starting with July 1st, we work on more virtual ILT integration also into the Skills Academy. We add additional courses for purchase, and we work on a subscription-based solution for you to add additional skills, to add additional topics to your learning journey. So as already mentioned, reporting is one of the most interesting parts, especially for the management people. So we created Power BI dashboards based on the user data we get out of our learning platform. And what you can see here as an example is an international training project where you can see how many users are already enrolled, how many countries are covered, how many courses were completed, and where do we have the users enrolled into the classes. You can drill down all these parts of that reporting, and you can see more and more details. And the feedback from our customers in the last years was that this is something they really like because it's easier for them and it saves a lot of time that they can take advantage of these services by LLPA. Also quite nice graphic because I like this one when we handled international, like global training project. There you can see also graphics like this one. In which country, in which area, how many people are already part of the story, are already part of the training initiative. Also, that is part of the dashboard of the reporting services you can get by LLPA and its partners. Are you the first one, or are you one of the first one? I'm sorry, but no. We already have more than 185 well-known customers all around the globe using that kind of training solution. This number and logos you can see right now are customers using the Skills Academy portal already to train their people, to prepare people for the exam workshops, to prepare people for the exams, but also adds additional people just to create base skills in their companies. And you can see that there are really a lot of well-known companies trusting in the services of LLPA and the Skills Academy portal. That's the, I would say, most essential part of the cloud certification circle. Based on these companies, based on these customers, we have created some best practice examples right now. And let me start with a turnkey solution, a turnkey skilling solution we created at LLPA that you can also use if you are interested in the benefits of the cloud certification circle. We call it quite simple, the Skill and Certify. There is a fixed package available for a group of 20 people, for example, and your partner in your country, your LLPA member, can offer you phase 1 with a individual Skills Academy page for your company. You have then online study time, approximately 4, 5, 6 weeks. Your people have unlimited access to all courses on the Skills Academy portal. We have Microsoft Learn content in there also. And you have also included the Power BI reporting. As soon as your people are ready after the online study time, we start phase 2. And there is an exam prep workshop for 20 people delivered in a virtual classroom environment. There you get also the measure practice tests. That's amazing, because then you can have this test drive on the certification as often as your people want, or as often as you want, until you feel quite comfortable that you see the results of these practice tests is high enough that you are ready to register for the exam. If you are not feeling comfortable, then you still have the whole courseware and online lab access available to continue to practice and to train. Finally, you will register for the exam, or your people will register for the exam, and the exam vouchers for your selected certification are also already included in this package. And then you are ready, and your people are ready to get certified and register for the exam, and finally they will pass and be successful. We have some examples based on that, and let me start with one solution. I'm quite happy about it. It's a case study about a product we already designed more than 2 years ago, called the Simply Azure Academy. This is the initial product where a lot of solutions are based on. It's a hybrid learning as a service solution, like you could see it before in the best practice scenario. You get access to a platform, your platform, you get online training, you get video learning, you get a social learning platform, because people want to talk with each other. Maybe they want to exchange best practice. Maybe they want to ask a question, talk with a trainer, talk with other students. A social learning platform is the best place to be if you want to have conversation with the others, also training for their certification. In this Simply Azure Academy, you have Q&A sessions and webinar sessions for additional skills, for tips and tricks for preparing for the exam. And as you already heard before, for sure, measure practice tests, exam prep workshops, and the exams are included. The Simply Azure Academy pilot was already quite successful in 2018, and since then it becomes more and more popular because it's a part-time learning experience. You can do that next to your job. You don't have to spend a lot of days in the classroom. You can really do it as a part-time learning solution. And you, as a manager or your manager, can get the reporting because it's included, as I already mentioned before. Until now, we have more than 600 students trained in this academy. And out of that, 896 exams were passed by these people. The job roles we cover with the Simply Azure Academy are Azure Administrator, Solution Architect, Data Engineer, and Developers. And we have a pass rate, and that's really a success factor. We have a pass rate of exams of 91% of the students. Let me show you another case study based on another model of the Cloud Certification Circle, where you have the possibility that you enter the platform, let people study on the platform, and finally bring them into a classroom or a virtual classroom for up to 5 days and prepare them for multiple exams. This is a case study out of a telco company. There were 267 registered users on our Academy portal, nearby 800 course starts in the preparation time, and 180 course completions. Then they entered Agile certification bootcamp. 5 days of duration, 24 students were training and were coached by our trainers to be able to try 53 exams at the end of the week. So that means, as you can see, on average, more than 2 exams per person. 46 out of 53 passed their exam at the first time. And at the end of this week, we had 19 full certifications for that company, for the telco company, with a pass rate of 87%. Also a quite impressive number for this pass rate. Another one, more than 500 users registered on the Skills Academy portal, more than 1,000 course starts, and more than nearby 150 course completions. Also an Agile certification bootcamp. 24 students, 58 exams, 50 passed, 20 full certifications. As you can see again, a pass rate higher than 80%, what is quite successful in the certification program. And last but not least, a mixed solution. So it's not part of one customer. It was a 2 weeks program. It is a 2 weeks program centrally delivered by LLPA with 2 customers. The people are coming out of 10 different countries. Finally, we trained more than 300 IT pros and developers in advanced Azure courses. And more than 90% rated a highest certification level. So I think this kind of examples show that the new way of learning, the modern way of learning, makes really sense. And the Cloud Certification Circle is the solution for you and your company and your people to get ready for the digital transformation process and to get ready for the next challenges and adventures we will all see in this industrial revolution number 4. So I'm ready. I'm finished. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm quite happy to be part of the Global Cloud Skills Tour of LLPA. And Patrick, stage is yours again.
Thank you very much, Michael. Great story on how LLPA can help you in skilling your workforce with great examples. And you've seen the percentages, the passing rates that we have in those programs. There was a question in the chat. Somebody said, how can we get started? How do we start with a skilling program like that? Who do we need to contact? Well, on this slide you can see all the members of LLPA. And if you if you look at the slide and see which member of LLPA is your member in your country, you can contact them. Maybe you're already in contact with them. Otherwise, just check the website, thellpa.com/members, where you can see the members plus the contacts. But if you want to contact us directly, that's also possible. The mail address info@thellpa.com is also here on this slide. Just send us an email and we can advise you on how you can build your skills plan and how you can skill your workforce. So thank you once again, Kevin. Thank you, Michael. Great stories, very well aligned. The importance of skilling and how LLPA can support you. Thanks from us here in Amsterdam to you in Johannesburg and Vienna. I want to close the session with a final slide. You see a QR code here, and we would like to ask you to evaluate the session of today. And there's something for it in it for you, because if you do the evaluation, there is a chance that you might win 1 out of the 5 advanced courses, advanced role-based courses from LLPA or one of the members. So please evaluate the session, leave your name and email address, And at the end of the series of 6 events, by the end of June, we will do a raffle and we will take out 5 names out of the big box of names. And it might be you winning one of the courses for you or one of your people. Finally, let me look at next week. Next week we will have a session, and I also announced them, by Jan Depping and Herman Keizer, and they will talk about the 8 principles of cloud adoption. They wrote a book about that, and they will talk from here, from the studio in Amsterdam. They will enlighten you with the 8 principles and what is the best way to move your business to the cloud. Thank you very much for viewing. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you once again, Kevin and Michael, and we hope we can see you again next week in the 5th presentation of the Cloud Skills Tour, the virtual series. Thank you.